Awesome. So we've got a lot of Victorians on so far. So we've got someone from mid-coast New South Wales. And so what we, so there's more, we've got 21 on where we had 76 register. Ash, I'm just going to mute you again. Yeah, we had 76 register, but given that it's 1:02, we might get started, and I know there's going to be a few people who are late. So I would like to welcome you all here today to our inaugural Wellbeing Wednesday. And this was an idea that Louise and I came up with. I'll let Louise introduce herself in a moment, but we're leadership practitioners, consultants, coaches. We've been doing a lot of work with wellbeing over the last few years in particular. And so we've been running wellbeing workshops for women. We've run an online 6-week wellbeing challenge for women. I've also been running a wellbeing vacation workshop where I dress up as a little air hostess and have a bit of fun with participants. And I've got a background in agriculture and facilitation, and I am originally from Benalla, and that's where I am right now. So I'm in my bedroom that was decorated in 1986 when I was in year 10, and Laura Ashley was all the rage. So hence the beautiful curtains that you can see there, the Laura Ashley curtains and the wool runner. That was just the height of fashion in the 80s. Not much changed. It's the same. So I'm hanging out with my dad up in Benalla. And yeah, Louise and I were just kind of talking about how we really believe connection is so important right now. And so we wanted to do something. Oh, matching doona, says Sarah. No, I don't think we could afford the matching doona, but I got instead a couple of pillowcases and cushions. So I couldn't go the whole hog. And Megan says it's Laura Ashley's all coming back in. Well, so it should, I say. So it should. So yeah, we just wanted to provide a way for people women, particularly women, but we do have a couple of fellas that have registered to join in as well, which is terrific. And we just wanted to, we've got a big network of rural, regional and remote, as Donna Dickey reminded me, from the Northern Territory. Don't forget that third R. And so we wanted to do something to connect to our amazing network of rural women, regional and remote women, and I guess have a little bit of a chat each Wednesday to share wisdom, just kind of keep connected through this really crazy time. So Louise, I'll just hand over to you to say hello.
Hello. And more. So my backdrop is where I live. I live in Sandhurst, so not very far from Frankston South, as one of our attendees is from, and I'm surrounded by farms. So I kind of feel sometimes that I am semi-rural, but not really. I'm a city chick and love champagne, have worked with Cynthia, she's mentioned, for quite a few years, and really enjoy working in particular with women. Still love men, but I love working with women, and in particular wellbeing. And just did a little bit of yoga while I was waiting before. So I'm a bit of a nut when it comes to keeping healthy and fit. So looking forward to today.
Now, Louise and I love working together because we're very different. I am verbose, as you will no doubt be picking up. Louise is a lot more straight down the line, to the point. She keeps me in line, and so I'm so glad to be working with her on this, and you will be too. Now, we have our first guest today, the wonderful Di Bowles from Kahuna in Northern Victoria. And Di's a dairy farmer, and I've known Di for many, many years. Di, I can't remember, where did we first meet, do you reckon?
Was it the Murray Goulburn supply thing, or was it before that?
I reckon it's probably before that. I spent quite a bit of time with the Department of Ag in Northern Victoria.
Probably
ran
there.
workshops up there, so I reckon it might have been up there. So I know Di very well, and I thought that she would be the perfect guest for our first chat with a special friend. And I actually just had visions. Sorry, we have a bit of, my brothers love watching Fox. So Andrew Bolt's on sometimes, for those of you who aren't actually into Andrew Bolt. And Andrew has a whiskey with a mate. And so I just felt like we've got a special chat with a friend on Wednesday. Just brought me back visions of Andrew Bolt. Anyway, Di was involved in so many things in her community, in the dairy industry, nationally, in water. And she went through, we'll hear from her, but she went through a stage a couple of years ago of actually taking a deliberate step back from everything and putting a pause on things and really focusing in on her well-being. And given that we're all facing an enforced stepping back and taking a bit of a pause, we thought Di would have some really good insights to share about what she did and the benefits of that for her right now. So I'll just quickly ask Di to introduce herself. Di?
Yep. Hi, everyone. So first disclaimer, I'm very like Synth, not like Louise. And so, yeah, Louise, just pause me when you need to. So hello, everyone. I'm Di Bowles, and I like to say that I'm a full-time professional dairy farmer in Northern Victoria. So I'm talking to you from my office, sewing room, sunroom, multi-purpose room. And my daughter, Amy, thanks for reminding me, if you hear someone stick their head in the door and go, "Oi, Diane," that'll be my husband, but I've warned him. So, yeah, thanks for having me, Synth. I was sold the idea that it'd just be like, oh, Di, it'll just be 5 or 6 people and there'll be no pressure. It'll be fine. And now I don't know how many people are there now, but it's probably more than 5 or 6.
Got 24 now.
Just my age. That's nice. So, yeah, so hopefully I can just share some things that I've learnt along the way and that might help you. Yeah.
Fabulous. So, Louise, do you just want to do intros from everyone who's on board?
Let you know who's here. So I'll just go through names.
If people can write in the chat box where they're dialing
even
from.
better. Yeah. So in the chat box downstairs, down the bottom, just let us know where you're from. I know we have asked you when we had the time at the beginning, but just type away and I'll call it out. But if you press chat, you'll see, which is down in the bottom of the dashboard. If you touch your screen, that will pop up. We'll find out. So Virginia from Frankston South. Yeah, Virginia, you and I.
And so just a reminder also, everyone needs to check if you can. Down the bottom on the chat box, it says 2, and you can either choose all panelists and attendees, or a particular participant. So if you can check all panelists, tick all panelists and attendees, then everyone will be able to see what you type.
Which is great. So quite a few people have done that. Hello, Pearl from Sandhurst, and Karen from Beechworth, Amy from Tokawal, or you're going to have to correct me my pronunciation, Patricia from Shepparton, Amy from Bendigo, also from Kahuna, previously Di's daughter. Oh, hello, Pina from Sandhurst, and Sarah from Tatong.
Tatong.
Claire from Canberra. Karen Brady from Colac, who we spoke to before, Meg from Taree, and Belinda from Maryborough. Louise from Emu Creek, which is near Bendigo, Sarah from Bendigo. Who have I missed? Estelle from Melbourne, Brighton, and Patricia from Shep, I think I mentioned. Tiani Cook from Northern Territory. Ooh, you get the travel gavel. Chris from Kundruk, Lisa from the Mornington Peninsula, my favourite place in the world, Michelle, Lainey from New South Wales. Lauren Ballarat, Amy Brisbane, further afar from where Cynthia and I are. Okay, I think I've called out most people. Welcome. And looks as if everyone's got all panelists and attendees, which is great. If you haven't done that already, do that. And also it's useful to select the gallery view. Would you agree, Cynthia?
Yes.
So top kind of right on your screen it should be. You might have speaker view or gallery view. And you will only see Di's gorgeous face and maybe Cynthia and I at the side as the co-hosts.
Great. Now we're also recording this today and with the aim of being able to share it afterwards. So if you've enjoyed this chat, we'll send the link to you and you can share it around. So just in the bottom, just to go through a bit of Zoom protocol, if you're not familiar with it, we've got down the bottom, we can see, if you click your mouse, you can see a dashboard. As Louise has said, we know we've got 27 participants. There's a Q&A box. So if you want to ask a question that you I think just Louise, Di and I will see, you could type it in the Q&A box. There's also the chat box, which Louise has gone through. And yeah, and then we could change the view. So hopefully the technology will all work seamlessly today, we hope. So our process for today is that we're going to spend about 30 minutes having a bit of a chat with Diane, asking her questions. So through the chat, you're very welcome to make comments. You're welcome to ask questions. But for the last 15 minutes of the session, we're going to invite you to ask specific questions of Di that we can address. And then we'll also though we want this to be of use to you. So we want you to have a bit of a think and reflect about what the messages you've taken away, the learning you've taken away from the session today, and to share that with each other, because again, sharing the learning that we have is really important. And also we're going to ask you to have a think about what is one thing that you could focus on this week around your well-being. And it might be something, hopefully it's something that you've got from Di's session, or that you've learned from another participant who's typed something. But we want you to go away each week with one simple thing that you could focus on in order to really look after your well-being in this really challenging time for so many of us. So
let's add in first, I must acknowledge that Denise has finally joined us from Fernbank, East Gippsland, so that took a while. And how could we have forgotten to mention Ashley Rogers, and I think at this stage maybe the only male on board, Lewis, the toddler from Wangaratta.
Great, good to have you on board, little fella. So now, so Di, we wondered if you could just start by, you've already mentioned you're a dairy farmer located in Kahuna, but could you just give us a bit of an insight into your life, like what happens for you, on a day-to-day level?
On a day-to-day level, so I've actually been reflecting a lot on this, because at the moment, let's see, my clock's going to chime. Oh well. At the moment for us, for dairy, we are just doing what we do every day. So it is exactly the same for us at the moment. So we are still getting up, milking cows, we're calving, we're putting in seed. I hope we're putting in seed because they're a bit slack out there. Fencing, everything is exactly the same for us on a day-to-day basis. But every input that's coming into our business, like our hay supplier, the auto elect, everything is operating in a different way. So at the moment for me, it's feeling a bit surreal. And also I have, go away Gary, he's just waving to me, giving me the thumbs up. I have my mum in aged care as well. And so I was visiting mum most days, but she's in lockdown. So those are my friends on here that are on Facebook, they would say, I just saw her this morning, so that's great. So that's sort of roughly what I do. I do a little bit of stuff off farm now, but nothing like what I used to do, which I think is what Synth wants me to talk about today. What else do I do? I love doing quilting, so you might see some stuff behind me. I love doing knitting. I love being creative. I love being outside. I like being structured, which is really hard in this unstructured life that we live in. And I love my family. So here's Jake, number one grandson. So that's sort of what I do at the moment. Yeah.
And Di, you've your Gannawarra Shire, where you're from, you've just had your first confirmed case of COVID.
Yay! Yes, we have.
And what's been the effect on the community psyche, I guess? And
Yep. So because I'm on the Kahuna Hospital Board, I actually know where the location of the person is, but I'm not going to disclose that. So because they've just said Gannawarra Shire, everyone is running around going, who is it? Who is it? Trying to sort that out. I think we've seen a little bit of panic buying, I think. I've been limiting what I go to do. So I went into the supermarket this morning and it was fine. It was calm. I saw my very first person in a mask today, and that was an older lady who's not well, so I don't blame her. I think, and looking from a peripheral point of view, I think what we're seeing right now is the very best in people and the very worst in people. So, excuse my prop. Oh, got to get up for a sec. This is the very best of people. My yoga teacher, who can't teach yoga, sent us out a message going, if you haven't got a mat, if you haven't got a block, let me know. I'll be outside the yoga joint at 9, pick one up. That's the very best of people. The very worst of people, I said to the chick in the supermarket this morning, how are you going? And she said, oh, she nearly burst into tears. And just a young girl, and she said, I'm scared. I still want to work. I don't want to lose my job. And people are rude. And so I just said, look, you're doing a great job. Thank you. That's actually might be one of my tips down the track. And I think this is where we really need to think about what we're doing and what we're saying, and really, really notice that little, you're doing a great job, a smile, a hello makes so much difference in someone's life. Yeah.
So true, Di. Really valuable messages there for us all, because particularly when we're under stress, our brains just shut down and don't work as well. So we actually start really focusing just on ourselves, and it's like we've got a camera lens, and the lens, normally when we're fine, it's quite wide, so we can think about other people, we can focus on other people. But when we're under stress, that lens just focuses right in and it becomes really narrow, and we just think about me. Yep. So that explains a lot of the behavior that we're seeing. But if we can have our own personal impact by remembering to take some breaths and try to keep our lens widened, we can make an incredible difference in each other's lives.
Yeah.
So Di, do you, given that we're facing probably stage 3 at some stage soon, which will be, probably enforced lockdown for many of us. Yeah. I'm really interested that you deliberately a couple of years ago decided to sort of almost do a little mini lockdown of yourself. And yeah. I'd just like you to share with everyone, what was your life like at that time? Like, why did you decide what led to you deciding to take a step back, and then, just where you were right then?
Yep. Yeah, so I was actually looking for one of my old diaries, but I think I might have sent them to heaven or somewhere. So at my worst crisis point, I've written down some of the boards and things I was involved with. So I'll just tell you a couple of those, but also remember that while I was doing all this, I'm still a dairy farmer. So so my husband, for those that know, Gary, is not technological at all. So I do all the office stuff and things like that. So at that time, I was on the board of North Central Catchment Management Authority. I was on the Murray Dairy Board. I was on the advisory to the Murray-Darling Basin Authority. Australian Dairy Farmers, I was going to Canberra read quite often for water policy, for ag policy. That's just a few of the things. And it was frantic. And I would look at my diary and work out where I was going to be for the week, and how many planes I was going to catch, and how much board papers I had to read. And I was also really aware that I had in my role a lot of influence with what I was doing, which came with a lot of weight. So here I am sitting next to, at that time, Barnaby Joyce's Ag Minister at dinner, asking me what it's like being a dairy farmer. And that was really hard because part of me wanted to answer as myself, but I'm representing a whole industry, and that's really hard. And then also around that same time, I think was when we had the other interesting times, which is when our milk company fell over. All those things happened all at the same time. And it was really hard. And so the really big trigger for me for one of them was I've been in Canberra, I think, for 3 days with the MWA and at Parliament House. And I went back to my motel room and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I thought, they're not listening to me. They don't care. Gary rang me and he just wanted me to find some little thing, whatever, and I couldn't even sort it out from remotely. And it was so hard. And I just, that's it. And I thought, that is enough. You know, I can't keep doing this. And thankfully, at that time, I had a couple of trusted friends who some of them might be on here at the moment. And I worked through, look, I just can't do this. And the other moment that I realised too that this was ridiculous was for the girls out here. I had a permanently packed toiletry bag that I didn't have to put anything in. So, you know, like normally when you have to go away, you've got to put in your other hairbrush and your other. So mine was permanently packed, ready to go, as was my bag, permanently packed. It's ridiculous. So what happened then was one of my boards I wasn't reappointed on, even though everyone told me that I would be because I was fully qualified, and that was fine. It was just one advisor apparently didn't like me. That's fine. I was devastated when that happened, but that was actually the catalyst for me to pull the plug. So looking back now, that was the best thing, the very best thing. And I just thought, that's it. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep running around being exhausted. My kids, and two of you are on here, Amy and Sarah, I would see you for like 2 minutes in Bendigo on a way through onto a plane. That wasn't right. And someone else also said to me, you know what, Di, if you weren't here, we'd still have the meeting. We'd still make decisions. You are not God, I suppose. So I decided to pull back from everything and really work on myself and make myself stronger, and also really find out, is this the right word, Synth? The authentic me. Who is the authentic Di? Not the person that had to be a guru on water, not the person that had to represent the dairy industry as everyone is positive when we weren't, not that person, but who am I? What are my core values? What do I believe in? What's my truth? And that was hard, but best thing I've ever done. Very best thing I've ever done. Yeah. That answer that question, or do you want me to keep going? Chat. So
Louise, over to you,
Louise.
friend.
I can't hear her. You're muted, Louise.
Yeah. Not muted, but muted. I think being authentic is something that is bandied around quite regularly. Mm-hmm. What does that mean kind of from a well-being point of view? Like what does, say, your authentic well-being mean to you? What does it look like?
Yep. So good question, because I happen to have written down answers to that. So for me, I've learnt that for authentic for me is if I am presented with a situation or an opportunity or something like that, trust your gut. Like, how does that sit with me? Does that feel right for me? And I think, who does that impact? Like, what I'm doing, will that impact somebody else? If it does impact somebody else, so for example, it would never happen if Scott Morrison rang me this afternoon and said, Di, I want you to come up and be my advisor on coronavirus for dairy, which wouldn't happen, but that would impact so many people. So I am very aware of what I do impacts people. And also, is it in line with my values, which is really important to me as well. And I've worked really hard on what is important to me, but also what is my negotiable things, I suppose. So to sort of round that off to how I deal with something now, if someone asks me to do something, and I'm actually pleased I actually said this to Synth. When Synth asked me, would I do this, I actually just say now, can I just get back to you about that? It doesn't offend anybody. It's not just going, yes, no. Let me get back to you, gives you space and time. And look, I've been guilty so many times of a great opportunity that's come and I go, yeah, that's great. And then you go, oh, I'm not really sure how I'm going to fit that in my day. Let me get back to you is great. And I can highly recommend it as an answer of choice.
And I'm just typing that in the chat box for the record. Let me get back to you. I hope everyone else is writing that down.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I just said that privately to you, but I will change that so that everyone sees it.
Yeah.
Great. And there's quite a few messages there that you've shared with us. I like to think of that. It sounded like a ripple effect, and your pebble is you, and you've wrapped a Post-it note with all your values on it, and you've thrown it in the pond, because you know then every ripple is the impact. So that's something you can really tack away. What about your energy? I like to ask clients all the time, the first thing is about, tell me about your energy. When's it best? Where is it? How do you achieve that? Tell us more about that.
Yep. So this is my clock again, every 15 minutes. So my energy, firstly, I've embraced the nana nap. Like the nana nap, so you can write that down, that embrace the nana nap. I am probably a morning person. Like Gary gets up at 5, I get up at 5 then as well. I'm extremely productive between 5 and 7 in the morning. That's great. Look, to be honest, if you got me now to sit in an all-day meeting, I couldn't do it. I'd fall asleep. I've learnt that I work better in blocks of time, so an hour, hour and a half, and then change it to something else. So go for a walk, stretch your legs, that type of a thing. But I'm also very aware, energy-wise, of what I eat and drink to keep myself awake and focused. So previous I would have had, my girls will laugh at this, soft lollies, we call them, in all drawers to keep you going and whatever. Whereas now I love herbal tea. I think, and a banana for a snack is really good to keep you in a great headspace. So junk in, junk out sort of type thing. But I also am aware, I think, of when I'm at my limit and I can't keep doing stuff. And I think you need to do that. I mean, if it's really important, push through. But you know what? Sometimes it's good to go, look, I actually can't concentrate and do that now. It's just too hard. Dairy farmers out there, if we have a cow program that we've got to carve all the cows in and you've got to get the numbers right, I know I can only do that for 15 minutes at a time. If I go for longer, I make errors, then it's more work. So I think it's really good to recognise your limits and your boundaries, and yeah, that's important. The other thing I also do is, particularly in the farm office, I try to keep office hours. So I don't do office work on the weekends at all, unless it was super desperate. And that's another way of keeping my energy up, because to me, even though we still milk and do farm things, weekends are our relaxing time, and that's really important too. Yeah.
Is there anything else, Di, that compromises your energy?
Yes. So particularly mental energy, not necessarily physical energy, but mental energy. So being on this all the time, looking at social media, and most people know that I love social media, but I've pulled back heaps because, and particularly at the moment, you could be on there all the time. Not helpful. So that's really important.
Sorry, because sorry to interrupt, you are, you're a leader on social media. You started, for the dairy industry, the show, the Dairy Love page.
Yep.
But I'd just like to, you're also, as you've said, you're very aware of the dark side of social media, and just some comment on well-being, like from what you've noticed, because a lot of us like a lot more people are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. You get a bit obsessed, you keep scrolling, or you're listening to the news all the time. I've got a question in here somewhere. Something about, what that can do to you in terms of your well-being in negatively, and even just the conversations that happen, and how you might manage yourself.
Yep. So a great discovery that I had is called Aeroplane mode on your phone. So if you don't want to be bothered by all that stuff for a minute, just put your phone on aeroplane mode, because then you're not bothered by it. And it's sort of like pressing pause on your life. I use lots of social media or different platforms. I've realised now that I think I like Twitter a lot more than I used to, because you can block words. So you can block the coronavirus on Twitter. You can't do it on Facebook. So I have cut back a lot of the groups that I've involved with, and I'm really careful what I post. And I think whatever platform you're using, you need to be aware of why you're using it. So, for example, before I popped up a photo of Mum through the glass visiting her. On Twitter, people just, yep, that's great. On Facebook, bless Facebook's little heart, there was a few of Mum's old carers that said, lovely to see you, Mum. I miss taking her Meals on Wheels. that's what's, to me, social media is. Facebook is social, Twitter is a bit more business, LinkedIn is proper business. I'm actually a lot scared to put stuff on LinkedIn. I think I need to look really smart and professional. And then we have lovely Instagram that you can just look through and look at pretty pictures, and you don't have to engage. But if you're looking at all that stuff and you're looking at it obsessively, then there's plenty of other things you can do. You need to try and get your information from a really good source, not the busiest source, I think. So pick the people that you listen to, pick the people that you want to follow, because I'm really sure that some of those people you see with beautiful images and pictures and stuff like that aren't like that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and just briefly, Di, as well, I'm really interested in this because at one of our wellbeing workshops, we had a participant say, I thought I was using social media as a way to relax, and I've now realised, just by having some time to think in this workshop about what really boosts my wellbeing and what makes me feel better, she said, I've actually just realised that sitting watching Netflix binges and being on Facebook at all hours of the night doesn't make me feel better. It actually drains me and impacts negatively on my well-being. But I thought it was harmless before I'd really taken the opportunity to really look at it. And I reckon that for a lot of us who are work potentially at home a lot more over the next couple of months, just being really conscious of that for ourselves and what tops our well-being up versus what depletes it. Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah. So that's why I just quickly looked at for example, on my Twitter account, I have 1,300 and something followers, but I'm only following 305. I've actually made a conscious decision that I will not follow people that I haven't met face to face, unless there's a pretty good reason of why I don't. Because the persona that some people put on here isn't them. And so I want to have that. I'm a visual person. I'm a contact person. I'm a hugger. Who else is a hugger at the moment that's struggling? Yay, the huggers. That's me. And so I just want to know, here's my elbow, but it's not the same. Thanks, Tiani. It is hard for the huggers. And so I want to know who, and I think that's authentic to who these people are. Because what's the term? Keyboard warriors are out there, really, and I've been a victim of keyboard warriors, and it's horrible. I think that you just really need to pick what you're doing, who you're doing it with, and it doesn't hurt to turn things off. Yesterday, the day before, I would normally have the radio on while I'm working at my desk, but I just put music on. It was daggy old Fleetwood Mac, but it was fine. Louise likes Fleetwood Mac. Because you know all the words to the songs. So you're doing that, and I become quite productive. And I also bribe myself with songs. We'll do this till the end of the song. That's really good. So I think, and I don't know, there's something about music that changes the atmosphere where you are. It cuts through the crap. It cuts through everything else, and it just puts you in a different place. Yeah. What else? Louise is saying, keep sharing your insights and thoughts. Right, now I've stopped thinking. I think to that, Louise, get Louise to ask me a question. Yeah.
I'm just going, Louise, over to you.
Yep.
I've got a little post-it note to keep reminding myself with the mute button. I've just got the time.
Yeah.
And Oh, we want to get a couple more questions with you, Di. I know the answer might be Cynthia or myself, but we were curious, is there anyone in particular who inspires you in that journey of well-being?
Well, you and Cynthia, obviously, for that. You know what? I'm inspired by odd people. So the people that aren't the famous people, just the everyday people that do what they do. So look, when I went to see, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but hopefully you can. So I was inspired this morning because I went to see Mum in at the nursing home. Can you all see that pic? Can you see it? There's a lady that's in the nursing home with Mum that's really sick with cancer, that she's teaching them all how to yarn bomb. So they're yarn bombing their walkers. Can you see that? I don't know if you can.
Fantastic.
That inspires me. That inspires me. That's someone thinking outside the box, making people see things in a different way. I'm inspired by people that really push through. They might have some form of disability or some great idea that I think, wow. So Amy Snowden's on here, isn't she? Is Amy on here still? She's a pretty smart chick. She's come up with some really smart ideas. I really like people that do something that expect nothing in return. They inspire me. People, if you're thinking big famous people, I think people like Steve Jobs from Apple. Like, he was so smart and switched on. He had a plan. And even, what's his name, the Virgin dude, Richard Branson. So he had some really interesting ideas and just went with it. But I like people that take people along on the journey with them. They're not out the front blowing their own trumpet trying to look good. So that's really impressive. The other thing that really impresses me is people that remember people's names. Like, who can I think of? Kathy McGowan. How does she know every person's name of people she's dealt with? And she'll go, oh, I remember the time we did blah, blah, blah. And you go, what the? Because I have enough trouble with names on a best day. So I think that my role models aren't huge. I do have one ancestor, which I've become quite aware of lately, is she came out on a boat from England in one of the fleets, not the first, I think at the fourth or the fifth, pregnant, had a baby on the boat and lobbed in Australia and built a house. That inspires me. I couldn't do that now. I don't want to do that now. I'm glad I'm here. So my role models and inspiration are probably different for all sorts of different things. Yeah.
And Amy said thank you for acknowledging her before. So on that note, who are you grateful for?
Who am I grateful for?
Is quite a significant component of well-being.
Yeah. So firstly, my girls will go, oh, I'm really grateful that for my husband and my family, my girls. My girls contact me every single day. And it's not that we're all needy or obsessive, but we just like to say, hello, how you going? And if they haven't got time to talk to me, one of them in particular will just text and say, alive. That's all it's needed. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm also really grateful for what I call my people. So they're the people that get me. And I went through when at my worst of times, I went through a little bit of panic attack scenarios and things. And I really, for me, I've also learnt that I might appear like I'm an extrovert, but I think I've got a cupboard introvert hiding in there somewhere. Haven't we, Sin? And I remember really clearly going to parkrun, which is something that I love. And I hadn't been for ages. And my friends said, look, just come and walk. And I couldn't be around crowds at that time, but I went and I walked with her and we talked and I was fine and I waved to everybody. But when it came to the let's go for coffee, she said I went white. Now, because she's my people, she knew, she said, you can't go to coffee, just I'll walk you to your car, text me when you get home. That's my people. They get you. They love you even when you're not being yourself. They just get you. I'm also really grateful of where I live, that I have so much outdoor space, so much outdoor area that I can just go out and be and walk and have fresh air and sunshine. I'm really grateful I live in Australia. I'm glad that I'm not living in a high-rise building in Melbourne in lockdown, because how are those people coping? I don't know. Someone I know told me that they have a friend who's living in a 3-bedroom apartment, high-rise apartment with 7 kids in lockdown. Oh my gosh, like what would you do? I don't know. And the other thing I wrote down that I'm grateful for is I'm really grateful for people that are kind in tough times. And there's, if you want to waste time on Facebook, waste time on the Kindness Pandemic page and have tissues, because the stories of people that are doing just little things is truly amazing. And yeah, they just inspire me. Yeah.
That's an amazing gratitude list. And even that thought that you've put some thought to even writing down those people that you're grateful for, which is something we can take away, which I suppose leading to probably the final question that Cynthia and I have had prepared to ask you, and then those remaining on our call, where a few people have said they've had to go for other work purposes. Top 3 tips that you would have for the women to manage their well-being. I know that I've noted you've said possibly you might talk about saying thank you from your supermarket scenario. That's, I don't know if that's one of your top 3, but I'd love to hear those.
Well, I've actually got 8.
I've
probably covered a couple, but like the first one I wrote down, and it's something that I've really become aware of, is rituals. So for me, in the morning, if I don't get up and have my 10 or 15 minutes of peace and quiet with this here cup of tea, don't come near me for the rest of the day, because you have false started me. I've had to train my husband up in that area, but he gets it now. The other thing, which is also related to a cup of tea, and we don't do it enough, how often do we make a cup of tea and walk around with it, or a coffee? We walk with it. Why do we not sit down, have a cup of tea, enjoy the cup of tea, have a chat, sit in the sunshine, sit in the stillness, enjoy the cup of tea? That was my number 1, even though it was in 2 things. The other one, which I've had to work really hard on, but I think I'm getting there, and that's with the help of a lot of people, is accept yourself as you are, because you're you. I'm not Cynthia, I'm not Louise. I couldn't do Cynthia or Louise, and they couldn't do me, but I'm me, and I am fairly happy with, I'm not perfect, but I'm happy with where I'm at the moment. I told you that let me get back to you. Get rid of FOMO, like fear of missing out. Don't worry about it. It's not necessary at all. We need to get rid of that one. I did say, which you've said, Louise, 5 minutes with someone else can mean the world to them. So just that 5 minutes in your day. And don't apologise for surrounding yourself with things that you love, because there's nothing wrong with having things that you love that are precious to you, that make you feel better about stuff. So if you could see the rubbish on my desk, which you can't, but I've got all this stuff here because it inspires me and it's pretty, and that's quite okay. So that's 3-ish things, and I'm not apologising for having more than 3. Yeah.
That's a great list, and that's only some of the advice that you have shared. Lots of wisdom there. So I suppose, Cynthia, you're unmuted now. Will we take any particular questions from our participants? So let's just...
If anyone's got a quick question, just type it into the chat. Don't worry about typing it into the Q&A. Type it into the chat. And if you don't have a question though, what we would like you to think about is just what's one or two sort of learnings, messages, or insights that you've got about well-being and maybe your own well-being from our conversation with Di today. And we'd love you to type a question or type your learning insight around your well-being into the chat box. Okay. And we've got our first question from Megan. Di, did you just walk away from your volunteer roles, or was it a progression of handing over to someone else? Thanks, Megan.
Yep, great question. So no, I didn't just walk away because I couldn't do that. So it was a progression, and it needed to be that way, but I put in pretty clear guidelines that I think for a couple of the roles I stopped immediately, but for a couple of the others I was happy to transition, which I think is only fair. Yep.
Yeah, so any of those insights or messages. So Ash has got a learning, keep office hours, don't let your work take over the weekend. Thanks, Ash. What else have we got? Oh, well, actually, Estelle said she's going to use the aeroplane mode on her phone a lot more. Belinda says, insight, the power of taking time to connect with women and talking about well-being. Karen, rituals, identify what they are, those that keep me sane and make sure I keep to them. Liz Brennan, my insight, creating rituals rather than routines. I've been trying to control things amidst the chaos, so this reframe is helpful.
Yep, so there was one from Louise back there that you missed. Juggling kids and working from home is a new world. Any tips? I know I've done it because mine are still alive. So, and that's, and I'm actually glad I can say that mine are still alive. So I think, yeah, thanks Amy, you're alive. Thanks, see, she's alive. And at the moment, Amy is on day 2 of being home with her kids. So she's let me know a couple of times she's alive. I think that I hope what my kids would say is that they've known all along I love them and I accept them just as they are, and that if they need time with me, they get it. And I will prioritise them over other things. I think that also you don't have to be the perfect person. You just need to be the parent to your kids that your kids need. And that was one thing I forgot to say, which my kids know very well. Actions have consequences. So what you do and how you do things can have consequences down the track. So maybe sometimes practice the pause is a good thing to do as well. Yeah.
Great. And we had someone says, love how Peanut, love how Di was saying, accept yourself and trust your gut feeling. Mm-hmm. Surround yourself, Tia, surround yourself with the right people. Be grateful for the family you've created. Yep. Liz, aeroplane mode. While I've been sitting there, I've just turned off messages which previously have popped up on my laptop. I've drastically been reducing social media. Anthea says, thanks. I've gained a few good tips to implement to improve my well-being. Megan says, confusing for self-employed as usual. I'd just like now, just before we finish, so we've got the learnings. What are there, love to hear just in conclusion, what's one action you will take this week for your well-being based on what you've heard today? And just while we're getting that, Louise, if you can read those out when I finish talking. That'd be great. So I just want to let everyone know that we're going to be back here next Wednesday at 1 o'clock Melbourne Victorian time. I get really confused with the time zones. Our next guest, oh my God, I've just had Marie McPherson. Marie McPherson, who lives in Gippsland, and she's a coach. She's got lots of really great wisdom around helping women manage their well-being. So we're going to be hearing from Marie. I know also that we've had Shanna from Sober in the Country. She's volunteered to be one of our guests as well. So I reckon that conversation around alcohol and kind of using food, drugs, whatever it is we do to prop ourselves up over the next few weeks, that's going to be a really important one. And we'd love you to keep your ideas coming about any ideas for guests. We want to interview people like you, people like Di, people just in their everyday lives. What are they doing? Don't think I'm not the person they need to interview, because you are the person that we want to hear from.
I would say that.
Exactly, that's what Di said. Really? And I'd just also like to say thank you so much to Di for being our first guest, courageous guest today.
Yep.
Di,
No, thank you. And can I say, because I did say the things, so I've got nothing to say. Do you know what those things that people are putting up there that I think is just what I do? I don't realise that I've helped people. So thanks, guys, for putting that up. And I'm happy for anyone to keep in touch with me or send me a message on various ways. So you can find me on everything. So if you can't, just send Synth a message and she'll hook you up with me. Yeah.
Terrific.
No, yeah.
So Louise, if I just hand over to you to feedback that and close the call. Thanks.
Sure, thanks, Synth. So amongst all the thanks to Di, pausing's popular rituals, whether that be have more tea, so maybe you could market that tea, Di, that you've got there. Sitting out in the sun, get off the social media. One person popped in, so I'm not using names, but their action was to tune in next Wednesday, which is great. Working out times, you're actually setting times to work, and don't apologise. Maybe this I missed there. Just a bit more routine again around the time, rather than not having some ritual time. Get rid of fear of missing out, as you'd mentioned, Di, as well. Yeah, I think I've got most of them there. And that really, we've done well. We're still within the hour that we allocated, but it really is a great idea.
We've got you here, Lily.
It is actually a really great idea to finish your meetings earlier rather than go overtime. So how about we do that, and let's speak next Wednesday. So I'm hoping that, so we had 37 at one stage, down to 33, which is okay. Here's hoping that potentially we could double that if we were all to tell one other person, man, woman, otherwise, join us, and let's hear from real people that are rural, regional and remote, because that was really the goal, wasn't it, Cynthia, to really connect with people around Australia.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
bye.
Fine. Thank you.
Thanks. So do I need to log on?
You can.
Or are you going to debrief?
And count down to 19, 18, 17, 14, 13. Well done, Di. That was good.